Women in these groups live behind a parda. And that parda is literally for father, husband, and brother, and son. And chacha and mamu are not even allowed. You have to understand how strict the parda is. You do not hear a woman's voice. You never see them. In militant groups, I don't like saying Islam. I have a big problem when people relate these groups to Islam, or they call them Islamists or they call them Mujahideen. They're not, right? They're mercenaries. And they shouldn't be, they have no God, and they shouldn't be affiliated with one either. So while this is happening and I'm screaming, this lady who lives behind this parda, and you have to understand, my kidnapper's mother-in-law was Muhammad Tahir Farooq's wife. Muhammad Tahir Farooq was the founder of the IMU. And under Mullah Muhammad Umar, who was the Amir of the Afghan Taliban, he called himself Amirul Momineen. Muhammad Tahir Farooq had the title of Amirul Muhajirin, which is that all the foreign fighters that come, he is their head, because he was from Uzbekistan and Mullah Umar's right-hand man. He was more senior in Afghanistan than Osama bin Laden. Osama bin Laden had a global terrorist group, but Muhammad Tahir Farooq was Mullah Umar's friend. He was also Baitullah Masood's friend, and I don't want to say teacher, but one of his guiding, force, or whatever you want to call these madmen. He also gave the first fatwa in Afghanistan for the beheading of soldiers, and then taught them how to use walkie-talkies. And he's one of the main people who convinced them that suicide bombings is perfectly okay, right? So this man, Muhammad Tahir Farooq, is a very important man if you study terrorist groups that have emerged from Afghanistan since 2004, or before that, a few years before that. So for his wife to break all these barriers, these parda barriers, and come where the men are and say, don't touch this boy, he is a guest in my house, get your hand. She was barging into this room while I'm being bled, being cut open, and she's the one breaking these barriers to save my life. It is just not possible. This is one of the many miracles that I actually experienced during my captivity. So this woman, it's very difficult, right? My khala and me were actually having this conversation in the morning, where she was like, if you have a love or affiliation, some kind of connection for this woman, it's kind of considered Stockholm syndrome, right? No, because if I saw her on a traffic light here, I know why she's there. She's there to blow and kill all of us, right? And she's okay with it. She'll kill me outside of that house if she saw me at a traffic signal and she was about to explode her vest. She wouldn't stop and say, oh, that's Shahbaz, the guy I saved. So you have to understand, she showed me mercy in a place where there was no humanity. No humanity. I'm telling you, I don't know, I had a love for her and her family. They saved my life. Her grandchildren were the reason why I smiled. Her son stopped this madman from basically, cutting me into little pieces. So, 3, 4 of them showed me so much kindness, and they protected me and they saved my life. And then, almost to a point where I felt like I had become part of their family. I used to live with them. When we were droned, I used to run with them. When we were in jet strikes, I used to take care of the kids. We all had roles in that house. I had a role. In that house is where my chains came off, my leg, I could walk in that room. I got my diaries. I remember the first time I asked for toothpaste was in that home. I got a decent meal there. I was allowed to take a shower there. I know that these things, I hadn't showered. I used to maybe showered once in 6 months. My beard was like down to here. My hair, I used to look at my face and not even remember who the guy was that they took on that 26th of August.
And she gave you your first proper meal?
Sorry?
She gave you your first proper meal?
Yeah, and by the way, proper meal just means rice and aloo. Yeah, mantus, I used to get, it's like a dumpling in Uzbekistan. But because my kidnapper hated me, he said, don't give him the meat one, give him the carrot one. So I used to have the mantu with carrot. But in this very, very dark, very, very evil place, and amongst the most barbaric, I don't know if human beings even like to be related to these people, but amongst these people, I found this light, and it is this the way that the family was with me, the way they protected me, the way we ran together, the way we hid together, the way we lived together. It gave me piece by piece my humanity back. Whenever somebody asks me, why are you not a broken man? Why don't you have these deep psychological issues? Anything. Why don't you get PTSD? Do you wake up in the middle of the night and you're in a war zone? No. Because the hardest things that had happened to me, this family actually helped put me back, like they put me back together, gave me my sanity back, they gave me my memory back, my life back. And also, what they gave me was an incredible thing, which is hope. I was in such a hopeless situation that it's so easy to be hopeless. Just say that, I'm going to die, it's not going to work out. But I read in the Quran, and I don't remember the exact translation, but I was also in a very low point in my life, and the Quran was the only thing that I had. And I read an ayat, and it said, and I looked into Sirat and deeper explanations. I had a little library over there. These guys would give me. So I looked into Sirat for the explanation of this ayat, and basically what I understood was, it said, you can never be hopeless, because that means you've given up on God's ability of doing a miracle, right? And why do you believe in God? Because He's not the same as you. Because He can do things you can't imagine, He parted the sea for Musa alayhi salam to escape Pharaoh's army. He has done things for, I don't like giving prophets examples because, their ability to have a miracle, God's love for them, it's completely different. But if you read the Quran, you'll see stories of human beings and miracles that God has done for them. And there's so many ayats in the Quran. Like, I remember one that never leaves me is, remember when you were going through your worst and you prayed to us, and then we helped you, and then we lifted your pain. Don't ever be amongst the ungrateful. Don't ever forget. When you used to cry and when you used to pray, I'm the one who helped you. So hope, right? It's God's divinity. It's the most amazing part about Allah. Because what seems impossible to you, and I've seen it with my own eyes. I'm sitting here in front of all of you, and I know how I knew myself, I would probably never come home. That doesn't mean that I'd given up hope because I wanted to live. I didn't want to die as an animal or as a prisoner, right? This was my hope. But I remember when I went into Afghanistan and the way that we went into Afghanistan, I thought, how am I going to come back? Nobody comes back. Afghanistan is a place, Waziristan, Alaqa-e-Ghair, Mir Ali, Miran Shah, these are places where people go to disappear. You never come back from these areas. If you've ever been here, I don't know who's come back, but I never gave up hope. And that is the most beautiful gift. That has been my strength from the day that I read that ayat till the day that I was free. Even when I was free, the journey back home, I was very skeptical. I didn't know if the people that I'm with will betray me, if they're going to take me to the place that I have to go to. Do they know who I am? Is this a big, setup? But I was like, कोई नहीं, वो तवक्कुल एक चीज़ होती है, आप अपनी ज़िंदगी बस अल्लाह के हाथ में छोड़ देते हैं, जो भी होएगा बेहतरी के लिए होएगा. मगर that doesn't mean that you're just like, okay, you have to do the best you can, right? When you leave something in Allah's hand, that means now it's even more difficult, because now you have to do the best that you can. And He says it. He's like, if you reach out to me with your hand, with however far your hand can go, I'll reach out to you tenfold. So it was the most beautiful thing that happened to me. I found hope, and I never gave up. I literally thought that, you know what, one day Allah will take me home. And I still remember when I was on that bike, on the way back was easier than the way there. But I just kept thinking, I just thought, what a life, I don't know if people get to see miracles, or if sometimes we can say, oh, what happened was a miracle. But I saw this, like, a door open, like a sea part, and safely from the middle of Afghanistan, just back home.